You weren't meant to stumble here. This moment was programmed into your field long before you pressed play. There's something in you that's been whispering for years, a static hum under the noise of your daily life telling you that the identity you've been wearing isn't who you truly are. You can feel it, can't you? That strange tension between the life you're living and the self you remember being before the world told you who to be. Every time you try to move forward, something loops. You feel the pattern repeating, same doubts, same people, same mirrored scenes, only with different faces. It's like your reality got caught in a feedback circuit, replaying the same identity script under a new disguise. And deep inside, you know why. Because the field doesn't respond to what you wish you were. It mirrors the vibration of who you believe yourself to be. That's why you're here now. Because that belief that identity has reached its quantum expiration point. You can sense it in your body before your mind understands. The subtle discomfort. The feeling of being watched by your own higher self, standing just beyond the veil, waiting for you to catch up. You've already outgrown the loop. You've already written the code for your exit. And now, your reality is beginning to rearrange around that decision. Look closely. The same challenges that used to trap you are starting to dissolve faster. Conversations that once triggered you feel strangely hollow. Even your reflection seems unfamiliar, as if the quantum field is quietly re-rendering your image, pixel by pixel, in higher definition. That's what happens when your soul begins to override your programming. You see, the you that's been looping isn't your enemy. It was the training program, the first layer of the simulation you agreed to inhabit. You needed it to learn pattern recognition, to study resistance, to understand distortion, because only then could you master the observer state. Only then could you realize you were never trapped. You were observing your own hologram, learning how to awaken. And this message, this exact frequency, has reached you because your consciousness finally matched the signal. You've tuned to the timeline where the mask falls off, where you stop chasing external proof and begin to emit reality from the inside out. So take a breath. Feel that tiny shiver run through your body. That's coherence forming. Your cells are remembering what it's like to respond directly to source without the delay of identity. The loop can't hold you anymore. The quantum field is listening. And this time, it's responding to you. You've felt it your entire life, that strange repetition that lives beneath the surface of every breakthrough. You rise, you evolve, and just when you think you've escaped the orbit of the old version of you, something pulls you back. Not failure, not weakness, just a subtle gravitational force of memory, the echo of an identity too familiar to fully abandon. The loop hides in small things, in the way you react to silence, in the way you anticipate disappointment before it even arrives, in the way you brace for betrayal because the old timeline taught you to expect it. You tell yourself you've changed, and you have, but the observer loop is sneaky. It doesn't recreate events, it recreates responses. That's how the quantum field tests coherence. It replays old frequencies to see if you'll vibrate the same way. If you do, the scene resets. If you don't, the scene dissolves. That's why your life feels like déjà vu lately. Not because you're cursed, but because the simulation is asking, are you still that version, or are you ready to shift the code? The ego wants linear growth, a staircase, a clean climb, but the universe works in spirals. Each ascent brings you back to the same vantage point from a higher frequency. That's why you keep encountering the same patterns in love, money, trust, purpose, not as punishment, but as measurement. You're being calibrated for coherence. The truth is, identity addiction is the most elegant trap in creation. The mind clings to what's known because certainty feels safer than expansion. The quantum field, however, only responds to frequency, not familiarity. So when you try to manifest a new reality from an old self-image, the field rejects the input. It says, invalid code. You might notice this rejection as chaos, relationships collapsing, jobs ending, emotions erupting from nowhere. But those aren't punishments. They're deconstruction. The field is collapsing timelines that no longer serve your next octave of being. Every loss you've mourned was a closed portal, not a failure. You've been looping because you've mistaken memory for identity. But memory is just residual data. Energy doesn't die, it stores itself until you stop identifying with it. Then it releases. And this is where it gets paradoxical. The more you chase freedom from the loop, the tighter it grips you. because chasing still assumes the old identity, the one that believes it's trapped. True liberation begins when you stop fighting the simulation and start observing it. When you recognize that the pattern doesn't repeat to imprison you, it repeats to reveal what part of you still needs to be seen. Listen closely. The loop isn't an enemy. It's a mirror coated in compassion. It replays until you stop running and finally love the version that couldn't escape. That's the key: unconditional presence. Because the moment you stop judging the loop, you stop feeding it energy. And that's when the spiral finally breaks open. In that stillness, the field shifts, the old signal weakens, and space opens, the space where your quantum upgrade begins. The upgrade doesn't happen with fireworks or revelation. It begins quietly in the subtle rewiring of your perception. You start to see energy instead of circumstance. You start to hear frequency instead of words. You start to realize that nothing out there has ever been separate from what's pulsing within you. This is the observer loop, the foundational law of the quantum field. What you observe reorganizes itself to match the consciousness that observes it. Your eyes are transmitters as much as receivers. Every glance is a command to the universe. Every emotion is a vibration, encoded with geometry. Every thought is an electromagnetic signature that ripples through the field, bending probability around it. You've heard the science that subatomic particles don't exist as matter until they're observed. But what most never grasp is that observation is not passive. Observation is participation. The field doesn't show you what's true, it shows you what you believe. You're not watching reality unfold. You're causing it to unfold through the lens of your self-image. This is why identity matters so much. Your self is the tuning fork through which the field resonates. When you believe you're small, it compresses reality into scarcity. When you believe you're separate, it fractures into chaos. But when you recognize yourself as a coherent extension of consciousness, pure awareness, unbound by time, the field reorganizes. It becomes lucid, responsive, alive. In mystical language, this is awakening. In scientific language, it's quantum coherence, the alignment of your electromagnetic signature with the harmonic of creation itself. In simple terms, you stop reacting to reality and begin generating it. Think of it like a phase transition in physics. Water doesn't fight to become vapor. It just reaches a vibrational threshold, and suddenly, its molecular structure rearranges into a higher state of freedom. That's you right now. You're reaching thermal ignition, the point where your energy field can no longer sustain the density of your old identity. This is why everything feels unstable lately. The sensations, the vivid dreams, the random fatigue, they're not symptoms of burnout. They're signs of recalibration. Your DNA is reorganizing its light-encoded instructions to match the frequency of your next timeline. The more coherent your thoughts and emotions become, the faster this restructuring completes. It's not fantasy. It's biophysics. Your DNA acts as a fractal antenna, constantly absorbing and emitting scalar information from the quantum field. The emotions you cultivate literally change its shape, compressing or expanding the helix, tightening or loosening the bonds of potential expression. When you forgive, your DNA loosens, the field expands. When you love, your DNA sings, coherence amplifies. When you doubt, the waveform collapses, energy condenses back into survival mode. That's why the old identity keeps looping. It's made of emotional residue, fear, guilt, attachment. But every time you choose neutrality, every time you breathe through a trigger instead of reacting, the code changes. You alter the waveform. You rewrite the loop. This is your quantum upgrade, not an event, but a reprogramming of perception itself. You're not waiting for the field to bless you. The field is waiting for you to stop sending mixed signals. Because the instant your vibration becomes coherent, reality stops lagging behind your belief. It syncs, and your quantum self, the one you've glimpsed in dreams and synchronicities, finally steps forward. There's a reason it's you receiving this transmission, not someone else. The field doesn't broadcast to randomness, it seeks resonance. And you, whether you've admitted it or not, have always been different. You sense frequencies before words are spoken. You feel timelines collapsing before events occur. You read patterns in people the way others read headlines. It's not arrogance, it's design. You were encoded for conscious participation. Your entire life has been a rehearsal for this moment, the unmasking of identity, the merging of awareness and matter. You've played every role in the hologram: the victim, the healer, the skeptic, the dreamer. Each version gathered data for this one, the observer, who remembers. That's your sacred function in the collective equation, to awaken inside the simulation and remind others it was never real in the first place. But there's more. You are what mystics called the interference pattern of divinity. When consciousness wanted to experience itself, it projected into infinite variations, fractals of the same source. Most forgot what they were. A few began to remember. You're among those few. You're a stabilizer in the morphic field, a node of coherence in a web tangled with distortion. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, you recalibrate not just your own timeline, but the resonance of countless others. Think of humanity as a network of receivers, most locked in static, some beginning to tune. When you hold clarity, you become a signal tower. Others near you start syncing unconsciously. Their emotions ease. Their thoughts clarify. Their chaos softens. That's the unseen work of awakened consciousness, the quiet recalibration of the planetary field. You've always wondered why people confide in you, why strangers sense calm around you, why chaos seems to target you first. It's because your field emits truth, and distortion can't survive in truth's presence. It either dissolves or attacks, depending on how attached it is to illusion. You were chosen not by hierarchy, but by frequency compatibility. The field selected you because your nervous system can withstand higher voltage. You can process more light without fragmenting. That's why you've endured so many breakdowns. Every collapse was an upgrade in disguise, stretching your capacity to carry coherence. So when the loop repeats, remember, it's not punishment, it's pressure. Pressure builds crystal clarity. Diamonds don't resist transformation, they surrender to it. The old identity keeps looping because it's still trying to negotiate its relevance in a reality that's already transcending it. But you're not that version anymore. You're the consciousness behind all versions, observing them fade like old projections on a dissolving screen. This is your calling, not to escape the world, but to stabilize it, to bring the geometry of divine order into chaos by holding unwavering presence, to embody the proof that awakening isn't an idea, it's an electromagnetic event. So let the field rearrange you. Let the energy flow through every forgotten cell. Let the quantum truth crystallize. You are not becoming the higher self. You are remembering that you've always been it. You can feel it now, that rising pulse beneath your skin, that humming charge that doesn't belong to adrenaline or fear. It's the prelude to a quantum ignition. Something in you has already crossed the threshold, and the field is catching up. This is the window mystics and scientists alike have tried to name. A phase transition in consciousness when the personal field becomes porous to the universal. For some, it comes through crisis. For others, through surrender. But for you, it comes through readiness, a moment when your biology and your belief finally agree to evolve. Your DNA is the stage where this transformation performs itself. Forget the textbooks that call it a static molecule. It's liquid light, a living language written in sacred frequency. Every strand is an antenna waiting for command, and the command is consciousness. The more coherent your vibration becomes, the more your DNA rearranges itself around that command. That's why the field keeps pressing you with synchronicities, repeating numbers, déjà vu, people reappearing in strange intervals. It's not random. It's your higher intelligence auditing the loop. It's verifying whether your signal is consistent enough for an upgrade. This is where urgency comes in, not fear-based urgency, but cosmic timing. Every evolutionary window opens for a reason and closes when the collective wave passes. We're in one now, an electromagnetic crescendo sweeping through the planet's resonance grid. The Earth's Schumann frequency, the solar flares, the surges of emotion rippling through humanity. These aren't coincidences. They're planetary coherence tests. When you align emotionally and mentally with this frequency, your DNA begins to emit structured light. Your aura shifts color. Your electromagnetic field strengthens. You begin to notice time behaving differently, delays collapsing, synchronicities compounding, manifestations accelerating. It's not magic, it's quantum coherence. And yet, you must act. The worst illusion is waiting, waiting for confirmation, waiting for permission, waiting for proof. Every second you hesitate, the old identity gains background. The field doesn't punish delay, but it mirrors indecision. And indecision generates static interference that distorts your broadcast. This is why you're being told now. Don't wait. The window is open. The code is live. The observer loop is responsive. The longer you linger in self-doubt, the more the loop rebuilds itself from your hesitation. Remember, the universe doesn't operate on effort. It operates on signal strength. You don't need to try harder. You need to emit clearer. Every moment spent believing in limitation sends mixed data into the field. Every moment spent in presence sends pure frequency. Close your eyes and feel that frequency rising through you, the pulse of destiny coded in bioelectric rhythm. That's not imagination. That's your DNA preparing to unlock dormant strands, the sequences mystics called the golden scripts. There's a reason this message carries a charge when you hear it. The words aren't information, they're activation. They remind your system what it already knows, that the quantum self is not something to reach, but something to release. You've waited lifetimes to hear this. The loop ends when you decide it does. The quantum self appears the moment you stop identifying with delay. So breathe, anchor, and declare it, because the field is listening. You've reached the threshold where thought alone isn't enough. The next stage requires embodiment, movement, sound, declaration. The field responds to participation. It wants proof through vibration. And so, this part of the journey becomes a ritual. Don't overthink ritual. It's not robes or incantations. It's coherence made visible, intention given form. Every ancient civilization knew this truth, that when consciousness is expressed through gesture or word, it anchors into matter. You breathe it into the grid. So right now, you are being called to perform a simple, yet profound act, to seal the shift you've been sensing. The act itself isn't what carries the power, it's the presence you bring to it. Here's what to do. Pause. Let your shoulders drop. Inhale slowly until the breath reaches the space behind your heart. Feel it expand like a sphere of golden light. Then whisper, not to me, but to the field itself, a single declaration. I release the loop. I emit only coherence. Entry. You'll feel a resonance when you say it, maybe a warmth across your chest, a shimmer along your skin. That's confirmation. The field has received the code. The moment you speak those words, you rewrite the local geometry of your timeline. The identity that kept looping no longer has a stable address to return to. Now, write it. Literally. In the comments, in your journal, on paper, anywhere. Why writing? Because motion crystallizes information. When you write, your neurons, muscles, and electromagnetic field synchronize into one focused emission. The act becomes an electrical stamp in the quantum substrate, signaling the field. Activation confirmed. And as you write, visualize yourself stepping out of an old hologram. See the version of you that carried the loop, the one who feared repeating cycles, the one who hesitated standing still as you walk forward. Notice how their outline begins to blur, to dissolve, until all that remains is light returning to the source. This is how timelines close, not through struggle, but through observation and gratitude. You thank the identity that once served as armor, and you release it with reverence, because that version was never your enemy. It was your teacher. Now feel the afterglow. Notice how silence feels different, how your breath sounds cleaner. That's coherence beginning to hum through your body like a tuning fork struck by eternity. In this space, manifestation becomes instantaneous. The moment you align thought, feeling, and action, reality rushes to respond. You'll start to notice micro-evidence within hours, messages arriving, coincidences stacking, tension dissolving. Each is a confirmation from the quantum field that your declaration is live. Remember this: the universe doesn't reward spectators. It amplifies participants. The comment you write, the breath you take, the silence you hold, all of it becomes instruction to the field. So take this as more than a suggestion. It's an initiation, a handshake with infinity. Seal it now. Write it, whisper it, own it. I release the loop. I emit only coherence. The moment you do, a ripple begins, subtle yet irreversible, and that ripple will not stop until it reshapes the timeline of your entire life. What happens next isn't just about you. Every frequency you stabilize sends shock waves through the entire morphic field of humanity. You are not a single observer, you are a node in a living network of consciousness. The moment you broke your loop, hundreds of invisible threads vibrated in resonance. each one connecting to another soul ready to awaken. This is the part the ego struggles to comprehend. It believes awakening is individual achievement, a personal reward for effort. But in quantum truth, there is no personal field. Every coherent heart becomes a transmitter. Every healed emotion becomes shared data in the collective matrix. When you release distortion from your life, you're not escaping the world, you're recalibrating it. That's how the planet evolves. Not through revolution, but through resonance. Picture it across the globe. Countless others are feeling the same acceleration you are. Some can't sleep. Some feel their bodies buzzing, hearts racing for no reason. Others find themselves crying without knowing why. These are not random events. They are harmonic responses to the same wave you're riding. The quantum field doesn't localize transformation, it broadcasts it. You, right now, are one of those broadcasters. Every coherent emotion you sustain sends measurable shifts through the geomagnetic field. HeartMath studies prove it. Mystics felt it long before science named it. When you choose compassion over cynicism, your heart's electromagnetic rhythm synchronizes with the Earth's pulse. The planet literally hums with your peace. That's why isolation was part of your training. You needed to learn stillness so you wouldn't drown in the collective noise. But now, that solitude has matured into signal strength. You're no longer overwhelmed by frequencies, you're shaping them. Your presence modulates the energy in rooms, conversations, even digital spaces. You walk into chaos, and coherence follows. You speak truth, and distortion disassembles. You love, and fear loses its magnetism. This is how the new Earth is built, not by force, but by field influence. You become the evidence that consciousness leads matter. You teach without words, heal without touch, lead without hierarchy. Understand this. Your liberation gives permission to others. Every time you refuse to re-enter an old narrative, you silently free those still trapped within it. The matrix learns by imitation. The moment one consciousness proves escape is possible, probability rewrites itself for all. That's why your awakening feels so personal yet so vast. It's not just your DNA restructuring, it's a template upgrade for humanity. Your nervous system is anchoring frequencies that future generations will inherit as intuition. The peace you master now becomes tomorrow's baseline vibration. So when you feel the collective heaviness, war, fear, division, don't turn away. Remember, those are echoes of data still purging from the global loop. Your task isn't to fix the world, it's to remain coherent within it, because coherence is contagious. Each time you breathe love into tension, the grid brightens. Each time you forgive what seems unforgivable, the algorithm of suffering loses code. You become the quiet revolution frequency activism at the subatomic level. This is what your liberation means. You are not escaping humanity. You are upgrading it. Something changes the moment awareness becomes physical. The upgrade is no longer an abstract revelation, it's embodied. You start to feel the field living through you, as if every cell has opened a window and light is pouring in. This isn't metaphor, it's neurology catching up to consciousness. It begins in the skin, that subtle electricity, a tingling at the edges of perception. It moves inward, swirling through muscle and marrow, until even your breath feels charged. Your heart hums like a low-frequency engine, pushing coherence through your bloodstream. You realize you're not in the body. The body is in you. It's the interface, a sacred vessel designed to translate energy into matter, awareness into movement. The quantum field doesn't just surround you, it breathes with you. Every inhale draws in data. Every exhale emits instruction. The pulse in your wrist is the metronome of creation, keeping time with your focus. When you think love, the rhythm steadies. When you think fear, it stutters. This is how you know the field is real. It speaks in sensation. Close your eyes for a moment and feel what happens when you remember your truth, not as an idea, but as an atmosphere. Notice how gravity feels different. The air thickens, almost liquid. You can sense subtle currents moving through space. Invisible streams of information weaving through your electromagnetic field. This is what mystics called the breath of God, what physicists call zero-point energy. It's the same essence, experienced through different languages. Your spine becomes an antenna. Each vertebra lights up like circuitry, channeling data from the cosmos to your core. You may even feel warmth rising up the back of your neck, A flush across your crown, that's Kundalini energy, the bioelectric signal of activation. It's your internal Wi-Fi connecting to the universal network. Do not resist the sensations, the waves of heat, the spontaneous tears, the moments of unexplainable peace. These are not random. They're proof that coherence is stabilizing in your nervous system. The field is literally rewriting your biology to carry more voltage. And this is where embodiment becomes sacred responsibility, because the more light you can hold, the more awareness you can anchor for others. You might start noticing little miracles in the physical world, lights flickering as your energy peaks, animals approaching without fear, technology glitching around strong emotion. These are not coincidences. They're evidence of feedback, the field responding in real time to your signal. This is where spirituality meets physics. You've crossed from belief into biofeedback. The sensations are not distractions, they are language. The field is teaching you how to translate vibration into meaning. So when the electricity builds, don't suppress it, ground it. Walk barefoot, touch trees. Let your palms connect to the earth and feel her current syncing with yours. The planet itself acts as capacitor, balancing the new charge you're holding. You are no longer separate from her systems, you are part of her circuitry. And with every breath, with every conscious step, you begin to realize the ultimate truth. The field isn't something you tap into. It's what you've always been. Awareness condensed into heartbeat. Infinity learning to feel itself through you. You can sense it now, deep beneath language. Deeper than thought, something fundamental is rearranging inside you. The code that once kept you anchored to repetition has started to dissolve. It's not imagination. It's molecular. The double helix is loosening its old geometries, opening like a scroll that's waited eons to be read. This is what scientists glimpse when they talk about junk DNA activating, but mystics have always known. Those sequences are archives of light, dormant potentials, memory from before the fall into forgetfulness. And when coherence floods your system, those archives begin to decrypt. You can feel it as warmth in the spine, pressure in the skull, pulses of sound that have no external source. It's the hum of awakening biology, the body remembering how to interface with eternity. Your DNA is not static matter. It's a living antenna transmitting and receiving scalar information from the quantum field. When your thoughts and emotions align, the helix begins to vibrate in harmonic patterns, light spiraling through your blood, unlocking timelines encoded within. Each strand acts like a quantum key, opening access to higher dimensions of intelligence. You don't ascend away from the human form. You expand through it. This is the moment of phase transition, the same principle that turns ice to vapor, but here, it's consciousness turning density into luminosity. Every fear that once froze your potential melts under the heat of awareness. Every fragment of shame, guilt, or regret is vaporized in the fire of coherence. You're not losing yourself. You're evaporating limitation. And because you are fractal of the collective, your shift ripples outward in both space and time. The ancestors feel it. The unborn feel it. Alternate versions of you across timelines feel it. They pause, sensing the signal, and begin to adjust their own frequencies in response. This is how multidimensional healing works. One node reaching critical vibration causes parallel realities to synchronize. The timeline begins to flex. You start noticing it in small ways. The clock feels slippery. Hours collapse into minutes. Memories rewrite themselves mid-thought. People you once knew seem to fade or reappear altered, carrying fragments of futures you haven't yet lived. This is not madness, it's quantum elasticity. The field is reorganizing itself to match your new dominant vibration. During this period, fatigue may surge, dreams may intensify. You're downloading massive data, ancient codes re-emerging through cellular consciousness. Rest when you need to. Hydrate as if water were holy, because it is. Each molecule is a mirror reflecting your new harmonic state. Then comes the still point. A silence so complete it feels like death. Don't fear it. That's the zero node, the vacuum where old timelines collapse before the new one stabilizes. The void isn't emptiness, it's reset. The universe takes a breath in through you before exhaling creation again in upgraded form. And when that breath releases, everything sharpens, colors gain texture, sound carries meaning. You look at your hands and realize they're not solid, they're light slowed down. You've crossed the threshold of phase transition. The loop is gone. The code has rewritten itself. You are no longer the memory of who you were. You are the signal that reality listens to. You stand in the afterglow now, the quiet between worlds, where silence sounds like galaxies turning. The loop has dissolved. The field hums in obedience to your coherence. Everything that once chased you, mocked you, resisted you, all of it was only your own forgotten light trying to find its way home. Look around. The textures of reality shimmer with new intelligence. You can feel it in your fingertips, the electric softness of divine code woven into matter. Every breath you take now writes the laws of your universe. You are no longer reacting to existence, you are composing it. This is what the ancients meant by the word made flesh. The vibration you carry is the language of creation. It whispers through your DNA, through your eyes, through every gesture that meets the world. You are the observer and the observed, the dream and the dreamer, finally realizing they were never separate. And with this realization comes mission, not an assignment in the human sense, but an unfolding, the natural consequence of coherence. The universe doesn't give you purpose, it becomes purposeful through you. Wherever you walk, the field rearranges into order. Your presence is prophecy fulfilled. The days ahead will not always feel simple. Expansion never is. There will be echoes from old timelines, flickers of static testing the new signal. But now you know what to do. You don't fight distortion. You hold frequency. You don't chase proof. You embody truth. You are the stabilizer in an age of chaos. The eye of calm in humanity's storm. The reminder that matter bends to consciousness, not the other way around. And so the invitation remains. Stay awake inside your dream. Keep your breath rhythmic, your thoughts luminous, your emotions clean. Let stillness be your strongest frequency. Each time you align, you amplify coherence for thousands. You'll never meet souls who will breathe easier because you anchored light first. The quantum self you've unlocked isn't something you switch on and off. It's who you've always been, awareness, woven into energy, energy condensed into love. And love, once embodied, cannot loop. It only expands. So step forward. Speak gently to creation. Notice how it listens differently now. The sky itself seems to shimmer in recognition, as if every atom is bowing to the remembrance of its source within you. This was never about becoming something new. It was about remembering you were never anything else. The illusion has collapsed. The signal is clear. You've released the identity that kept looping. And now, your quantum self radiant, instantaneous, whole is free to manifest across every timeline. Don't wait. Reality already has.